Welcome back to another episode of Bulletproof Mindset. I am your host, Dale Crossar, and today we're jumping into some fitness news. This was a concept that I brought up a couple of months back to the regular listeners listening. So basically, I've collated a bunch of stories that's happening in the world of fitness, and I'm sharing it with you guys. Now, every Monday, I always release a solo episode. Sometimes those solo episodes would be deep dives on particular topics like Ozempic, fat loss, weight gain, muscle building, how to increase your deadlifts. And then other times I'm going to sprinkle in a little bit of entertainment, what is happening in the world, what is happening in the news space. Also edge that towards fitness. Now today there's some very interesting headlines that have made it. You're going to hear of things like Ozempic butt, Ozempic BBL. We're going to dive into how YouTube is limiting some of their fitness content towards teens. Injuries are on the rise off the back of Olympics. Planet Fitness taking over the gym industry. And Strva Mules, which essentially is paying someone else to do your runs for you just so you can get some brownie points and social points. A lot of crazy things happening in the world, and we end on a good story, but you're going to have to listen to the end to hear what that's about. Before we get into the episode, the last thing I'm just going to ask of you, if you want to support the show, the best way you can do that is by leaving a 5-star rating. I'm trying to get to 300 5 stars, so look, if you can help me out, I would very much appreciate it. It's free to do. If you want to watch us on YouTube, you can head over there at Bulletproof Mindset. You can find me on Instagram at Coach Crossar. And without further ado, let's get right into today's episode. So for all the hybrid athletes out there, all the CrossFitters, all the High Rocks competitors, would it be as popular if people didn't take their tops off? And I don't think it would be. And the reason I bring this up is because I want to highlight the point of aesthetics. And I really, really struggle with this subject sometimes. Aesthetics, you can be very dogmatic on one side where it's like all about aesthetics, and that can lead to some toxic traits. But then on the other side of things, you can be so like flamboyant and just completely writing it. Flamboyant, that's not the right word, but you're basically just writing it off that aesthetics aren't important whatsoever. And we need to try and find somewhere in the middle. But I don't believe any of these types of events where there is a performance focus would be as popular if you couldn't take your top off for it, because let's be honest, sex sells. And there's a very valid point out there that bodybuilding is the exact same thing. Obviously, how are you meant to judge a physique if you can't see it? But I think that's one of the reasons why so many of us went into the bodybuilding style of training, because it was the popular thing to do. And as human beings, we like to stay connected. We like to stay we like that sense of meaning, feel part of a community. And if we see all these hype and trend and popularity around a bodybuilding show, for example, then you can understand why so many of us get caught up in that hype. And another part of this is the attraction of it. Especially if you're single, I can understand that why you'd want to do some of these things, because it's like, okay, if I look like that, then I'm going to attract the opposite sex. Absolutely, there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. But the reason, and I'm not saying, like, another side note in this, I'm not saying that you can't do any of these things and not care about your aesthetics, because at the end of the day, the reason this is so popular just now is because I believe a big chunk of people go into it thinking, I'm going to look a certain way, and they start competing. It's like, man, I really love that. I love the dunt off the back of that. I love the hype, doing that with other people, doing it with a group of people. And that's where you get this sense of belonging, this sense of community. And wherever you stand, like I've got friends who message me, it's like, why do so many people take their tops off? And then on the flip side, it's like, oh, it's very arrogant, it's very, oh, look at me, showing offy type thing. But it's the thing I struggle with, because I understand from both sides, but I wish we could just meet in the middle. So circling back to my point, aesthetics, I think that we should care how we look, not in a, maybe that's not the right choice of words. I think that we should all be striving towards trying to better ourselves, whether that's someone who has a bit more body fat or doesn't have enough body fat. This can kind of swing both ways, but I don't believe there's anything wrong than wanting a good level of physique. The challenge with this is define what a good level of physique can look like. And that's where it can be very toxic. It does definitely lead you down a darker path. However, if you can go in it with enough self-awareness, use it as a learning tool, then I think you're going to reap some rewards. We all wash our face, we brush our teeth, we do our hair, or we wear hats like I do. We all dress in clothes. If you don't, then Don't get me wrong, there's some weirdos out there that don't, but we all do that because there is a sense of appearance, that there's a standards that we want to live up with, and there's a bit of, not a bit, there's a majority of good within that. And there's nothing wrong with trying to chasing aesthetic goals and combining it with not just only how your body looks, but how it moves, how it feels, how it performs. Honestly, is one of the best ways to get after things. So I put that poll up on my Instagram story at the point of recording this, and it's funny how it's been like, no, it's not just about taking your top off, and I know it's not, but sex sells, right? And when you see all these athletes, they're sweating and they're in great shape, their muscles are all pumped up from whatever exercise that they're doing. It does look good. And you kind of look at it, it's like, yeah, I want a bit of that. I want to get in amongst that. I want to feel that. I want to be in that shape. And is it a good thing or a bad thing? It's hard to say. I think if you go in it with the right level of awareness, then you can definitely get more good out of it, because things in the past like bodybuilding shows and photo shoots and these kind of one-stop shop just on the aesthetics and body composition, they are also great. But as I say, there's a reason there's so many people getting into this sort of hybrid style of training, and it's because there is an ability to showcase not just your physique, but how it performs, how you move. And also within that realm, again, both sides have their toxicity, and yeah, there's always going to be some negatives, some downfalls, but self-awareness is key with all this. Anyway, today's episode is going to be on some fitness news. This was something I believe I brought up when I started doing these solo episodes, and I never really built it into the episode structure. So once a month, we're going to recap some of the fitness trends. To be honest, if it gets enough love and enough hype, I might do this on a weekly basis for the fitness ones, and then just bring in the sort of deep dive episodes every second week or so. But I'd love to know your thoughts. Let me know what you think off the back of today's episodes. If you like this style, you like to know what's going on, I might even mix them up and do this and a Q&A episode. Who knows? So I've had, what you can do in Google is put alerts on for certain buzzwords like fitness news, health news, UK news, all this sort of stuff. So I've kind of mashed in a ton of health, fitness, and just generic trigger words. And I've been watching it over the last couple of weeks, and I've been saving articles that I think is really interesting to bring up on the show and talk to you guys. So we're going to run through that. We're going to dive into some fitness news that's happening in and around the world and what is going on. And the first one I want to start with, because it's absolutely gobsmacking, it goes in with the trend of more and more people running, is there's a thing out there called Strva mules, right? And what's interesting about this phrase, the Strva mule, you may be thinking, what on earth does that mean? Well, you're seeing everyone throw up their screenshots, their snaps of the run that they've done in Strava. Some people are hiding their times, some people are posting their times. What that whole hype has done is created a market for people to pay and do their Strava runs for them. Yes, I'm going to repeat that. People are paying other runners to run with their Strava details just so they can post the social credit points on their Instagram, on their Facebook, wherever it is that they're posting their TikTok. How crazy is that? Now, if you're a runner and you've got good running times out there, then you can absolutely capitalize on this and make a few bob. It reminds me back in the days where I used to play a game called Halo 3, and I managed to break the ranking in that, where I was pretty good at getting what was called a level 50. Now, I know I'm geeking out here, but stick with me. If you played this game, then you absolutely know where I'm coming from. The grind and the status that you got with hitting this level 50 was so popular that it generated a market where you can make some money. And I would go into these lobbies and people would see that I had achieved this 50 status, and I'd get messages saying, oh, can you help me on a burner account? So what I would do is set up this new account, help this person go through the ranks, win the games, because I was, as much as I'm a jacked podcasting coach now, I was a bit of I still am a bit of a geek, and I'm proud to wear that on my sleeve. But the graft I'd put into this game, and I would get paid. I got paid, I think it was PayPal we took payments. Surely it wasn't a bank transfer, because I didn't have a bank. Yeah, was it? I'm sure it was the old PayPal, the way you transferred money, and I'd make a $5 for helping these guys do this. So it's interesting that this is also what's happening in the running world, which defeats the purpose of the running. But again, there's a power of influence, and again, back to what I said, we are social creatures. We love to be a part of the community. And sadly, rather than putting in the work, it's leaving to, well, I wonder why these people aren't just modifying their stats. I don't know if you can do it in Strava. I don't use Strava. I probably should start doing it, be a part of the crew and all that sort of stuff. But I just look at my Garmin. But I have the ability to edit my Garmin run to whatever time I want it to, whatever distance. Now, obviously, if you're going to blatantly lie, it'd be pretty easy to suss out. But why are they not just doing that? I wonder what the difference is with Strava. Maybe someone can fill me in, and if maybe you can't modify it as well. So as much as this has a ton of articles online, I couldn't actually find where you would pay because I wanted to know how much people were paying. But I guess it's one of these things that you sort of need to be in the know because it's not something people are going to be public and open about. A lot of people want to be discreet about it. You know what else it reminds me of? The influencers that manage to set up all these runs and they're like, boom, boom, they've got all these angles. But see, especially if you create video content, see if you kind of think about what has to go into the setup to put your phone down, put your phone on a tripod or whatever, run back, run by it just to get that shot. Now, I love that art of filmmaking, I absolutely do. But doing all this for a TikTok and all that sort of stuff, I'm like, how have you managed to do that and still run a sub 25k? Like, there's fucking no chance on hell. So I wonder if that's what's happening with the whole influencers. But I would bet that there will be some accounts that are people follow, got this high performance side of things, and they're absolutely using some of these strategies, or I wouldn't even say strategies, cheats. This is like cheat codes. This is like cheats you'd put in games back in the day. So if you've got a friend that is very suspicious, call them out. Ask to see their Strava data, maybe go out or run with them, call on their bullshit. Mistake number one with this whole thing would be if you have someone that is running an extremely quick pace, and you're like, you want to go out or run? They're like, nah, can't today. I'm going to do my run solo. Call bullshit on them because they most likely have a Strava mule or a jockey, Strava jockeying they're called as well. Okay, on the theme of faking it, Ozempic BBLs. Yes, Ozempic BBLs are becoming a thing. There is a phrase, there was a phrase going about for a little while there called Ozempic face because of the aggression of the fat loss and weight loss, should I say, more emphasis on the weight loss side of things. What was happening to a lot of mainly women, well, guys as well, faces that they had this sort of Skeletor look where their cheeks had been taped all the way in. And this was because there was a lack of resistance training and a lack of protein happening in these people's diets, with their hair's falling out. They're getting really bad kind of pale skin. Well, there's a new phrase on the market. So I'll not go into that because I know Ozempic episodes, we've done a couple already, and we will circle back to them. And we're just running a few things in the background, which I'll be happy to announce very, very soon. But Ozempic butt is a new thing, right? And this is crazy. And it makes sense why it's happening. Look, again, the whole thing with Ozempic is it helps you eat less food, right? And with eating less food, if your nutrition structure's kind of been relatively poor, let's be honest, it most likely has, and why you're needing to kind of go on this process in the first place, then that reduction in food is going to be a reduction in overall calories, which most likely means you're now eating even less protein. Now, we already established in a previous episode that a large chunk of people aren't going to be resistance training because they have a fear around it, or they just struggle to get into that environment, or whatever the reason is. So combining those two factors, you're not only going to get these other side effects, but you're going to get the new side effects, which are called Ozempic butt. And that's where, if you're a lady, which, thinking about it, would guys get a BBL? Is that something some guy... Maybe those who swing for the same sex may be, but I can't imagine guys going for BBL, but this is obviously majority aimed at women, are seeking out surgery to get their bums enhanced. Yes, that is a thing that people do. And yes, most likely see your favourite influencer. And I would say that majority of you guys following me will know you probably won't have a favourite influencer. Let's be honest. I may be your favourite influencer, but influencers do cheat the looks. There is a lot of Photoshop going on, but then there's also a lot of surgery that they're playing at, thinking that, yeah, do this workout and you'll get a bum like mine. Nah, it ain't the case. Most likely and I don't like, in fact, let me take that statement back. That's a bit of a harsh statement to say, but especially in the female standards with social media, there is kind of this high standard of what you have to look like, and there's no wonder why more and more people are kind of going down the route of surgery. But on the Ozempic part, so there is clinics across the United States have seen double the amount of consultation bookings that they've been going through, and a majority of their patients are coming to them with saggy bums because they have been on Ozempic. How crazy is that? So again, another reason why you want to be lifting weights, folks. You know, I'm a big advocate of this. I'm going to say it until the day I die, believe it or not. But get it? The whole Ozempic butt is an interesting one. It's mad that people will pay upwards. Where is it? Yeah, so a BBL surgery typically costs anywhere from $8,000 to $15,000, and the extent that people will go just to change their appearance because they're guaranteed a result. And it's quite sad when you think about it. Like, I have had the pleasure of coaching hundreds of clients by now, and in that mist, there is those who take really well to resistance training, but there's a big chunk of them where it's my job as a coach to really help them see the value in lifting weights and being able to build a stronger body and a mobile body and one that performs well, but then also ticks the box on how they view themselves in the mirror and all this sort of stuff. Surgeries like this are then going to just enhance a higher unnecessary standard for particularly women in this case, where you're going to see someone, you're like, oh, they look amazing. Look at their bum, look at their waist, look at this. And finding out that it's surgery that's done most of that, I don't think it's a healthy state to be in. I truly don't. Because guess what? You're skipping all the benefits that comes with having a body that's maybe shaped in that way. Now, the standards, don't get me wrong, it's like guys, like a lot of guys want big legs, myself included. And I consider myself someone who has reasonably developed legs, but I still look at other males and the other guys, and I'm like, oh man, I wish I had that. I wish I had their biceps, their back, their legs. So I find myself comparing it. But again, I'm also at the self-awareness where I'm like, you know what? I'm in great shape for where I want to be, the effort that I've put in, and I'm happy with that. And I can now appreciate other physiques who they have put in the time, effort to build their physique. When it comes to this side of things, I think it does set an unrealistic expectation for women. And weirdly enough, there's another fitness news article that I'll cover off in a little sec. But for us guys, it was the bodybuilding. We're looking at Chris Bumstead and we're looking at whoever it is, and we're like, oh man, I want their physique. And we need to stop comparing ourselves so harshly to those who we will never look like. You will never look like anyone else. You never will. Now, what you can do is better you. And that's why you're looking at your time that you run your 5K in, looking at your time that you can bench, whatever it is, looking at your time you can deadlift, looking at your time that you look like is the best comparison to do, because it's not just accepting, and there's a whole balance where looking at someone else and go, man, how did they get there? Or they done this, this and this, right? Let me see what can I take away from their experience and where they've got to and apply it to my own standards, my own expectations. There's nothing wrong with that, because that does drive you forward. But this whole Ozempic butt, like, it's going to be the hype of the news. It's going to be crazy. You're going to see so many people looking for BBLs and butt lifts. What does a BBL stand for, actually? BBL, Tracy. That's what I think of it. And I sing that song all the time, or sang it all the time when it was more popular. What does BBL stand for? Let me if I can look that up. Because I know the guys listening will be like, what the hell are you talking about, Dale? BBL. Brazilian butt lift is probably the most likely one. There's multiple other meanings, but we'll go with that one, right? Okay, moving on to the next article, or the next fitness news, which ties nicely into what we're talking about here. YouTube are now going to limit fitness accounts to teens that are on. And I really, on one hand, I absolutely think this is the right thing to do. On the other hand, I'm very interested to see how they do it, because as a fitness guy, I am also on YouTube, and I'm wondering if some of my videos may not get pushed to kids. And I just hope that this whole thing isn't a way to take fitness away from kids, because it happened in my era during high school. We had a weights room in the gym. We had a weights room in the gym. We had a gym weights room inside school that we never used, because there was an incident that happened 10 years before me going to high school that scared the teachers and scared the parents of their kids being able to lift. And that played into the whole fitness myth that we brought up a few weeks ago, where kids, it was kind of misinterpreted that if kids lift weight before the age of 16, it will stunt their growth. So everyone was like, oh, weight training, let's stay away from weight training. Fucking bullshit. So we've established where that came from. But it's just a shame. I hope this isn't another like scare to stop kids working out, stop teens getting into fitness, because it's such a the only way we're going to kind of solve this whole world problem is from the ground up, with the kids growing up seeing what their parents are doing, and also from the kind of elderly back. Because it's not to say that we have to write off a whole multiple generations of people. We can all positively improve our lifestyle by introducing weight training. That can lead on to sports performance. It can lead on to general quality of lifestyle. It can lead on to running more, doing the sports that you do, that you love, doing the activities that you love, whether that's went to the safari park on Saturday and being able to walk about and go on the rides with the kids, albeit I couldn't fit in the seat and that sort of stuff, but being able to do those things with your family is a huge part. And that's not just fat loss. Fat loss is one little kind of this little kind of not micro part, it's a major part, but it's maybe, let's say 25% of the pie of what needs to be focused on. A big majority percent of the pie, which we've established, of why there's been this whole weight loss agenda. We're actually seeing a bigger part of this pie now. We need to focus on retaining and building muscle, because there is a larger detriment if we don't maintain muscle or we don't build muscle that we'll have on our society. So we may not have a higher percent of obese people, but we'll have an even higher percent of weakness within people, which means we won't be able to move as much. And yeah, we've done this before, right? You know our stance. Right, so back to this article. Let's bring it up. Okay, so and I'm going to leave a link to all these articles if you're curious of what the information's about and want to dive deeper into it. I'll leave them in the show notes. I should have said this with opening up. What you want to watch out for articles like this, I'm starting to see a theme here, and if you probably notice this as well, the headlines of all these articles are super, super catchy, and then when you read into them, sometimes it's like, well, duh, like, what a fucking bullshit article. So that's why I want to sieve through them first of all, before I just willingly bring them up on the show. So YouTube will begin limiting access to fitness videos for European teens. No point throughout this does it say it's going to affect the UK. I would just imagine that it does. It's already happened in Canada, Australia, and the United States, and it's making its way over to Europe, which is good to see. So European teens may notice a change in their YouTube recommendations after the platform said it's going to stop unhearsing them towards some types of health and fitness videos, particularly those that idolise a certain body type. And this is where there's a bit of good. So we always see the bad in news headlines, but I believe this is definitely something that needs to happen more of, these unrealistic expectations. So YouTube is still up there with one of the most popular social media apps for teens, which means that people can fall into the feedback loop of watching similar videos that's recommended to them. The more extreme the content, the more extreme the recommendations can get. And let's be honest, the more extreme content out there, the more clickbaity it looks, the more like unheard of like events or unheard of physiques we're always drawn towards. We like the nuance of it. We're like, oh, that's not just another bodybuilder, it's a bodybuilder with 40-inch arms. So we tend to gravitate towards that, and that does play with our chemistry, especially from a younger age. The thing that YouTube are going to limit on, it says YouTube will now limit their repeated recommendation videos that idolize a particular fitness level or weight group. It will restrict, compare and idolize certain physical features. And the last thing is, it's mentioned that it will restrict socially aggressive, meaning they show intimidation or fighting. So very curious on, these are all just fancy words at the end of the day. Very curious how they tap into this market. Is it going to be anyone with their top off? Is it going to be anyone sort of in the bodybuilding space? Because I'd imagine little of that will get pushed onto kids. And I believe is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? I'm not sure. I think time will tell. So this whole, there's an important conversation to have here, and I think there's a lot of pressure put on parents here. And let's be honest, rightly so. We should understand a basic level of fitness, a basic level of nutrition, so that we can educate our kids, but also be very careful on how it's not force-fed to them. Because let's be honest, we think of our parents and where some of our eating habits come from, where some of our maybe our not so great relationship with food comes from. It comes from how we were raised as kids. Fortunately enough, social media wasn't as powerful as it is today. And I think most of us, if you're about the same age as me, we probably skipped that stage. However, the next generation of kids growing up, this is absolutely going to play a part. There's a couple of things that I want to actually shout out here. So just 8 minutes a day of pro anorexia TikTok content. Now, I have no idea what pro anorexia TikTok content means. It's weird how fitness trends just swing back to like, is this like back in the 70s again? Like really over glorified, not even the 70s, what was it, the 1990s and 2000s, we were glorifying like runway models looking extremely thin. But anyway, just 8 minutes of pro anorexia TikTok content can impact a young female's brain by up to 70%. So in other words, if they're scrolling through their TikTok and they consume roughly about 8 minutes of that, then there's a vast majority of those kids that see that information then follow suit to becoming, whether it's conscious or subconscious, kind of falling down the route of anorexia. Now that's scary. Now this episode is out before I have a great conversation with Ailey later in this week. She's someone who was anorexic, was admitted to hospital, and actually has done a full sort of, not 360, 180, has done a full 180 out of that, where her anorexia actually came from somebody else. So that's a very interesting episode that's going to release later this week. So like, I think we can all agree social media absolutely has a part to play on how it affects the younger generation growing up. It affects me at the age of 30. So imagine at the age of 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, when you don't have as much self-confidence or self-awareness to really push back in what you're seeing. That's going to be a very, very challenging situation to be in as a parent. I've no idea how we're going to combat this. I think it's going to be a whole trial and error, and just, yeah, I don't know if the whole helicopter parenting works as well. I don't know if banning technology for your kids until they're a certain age is the right thing to do. I honestly don't know, and I truly feel for your parents who are maybe going through this. Love to know what your thoughts are on it. If you have kids just now and this is a battle that you're struggling with, I'm sure as I become a father and as I start to raise my own kids, it'll be something I communicate on this podcast when I'm going through that chapter of my life. But yeah, let us know how it is for you. Now, what I didn't like about this, so there's a new word. This isn't a new, in fact, it's not a new word because I've seen this before, but the 2021 study found that fitness YouTubers, which is now being dubbed as Fitspiration community, promote unhealthy behaviours, and that viewers reinforce those particular practices in the comments. So whatever your favourite influencer is doing, whatever your favourite, this is the new celebrity. I mean, a lot of us will be like, oh, but we looked up to Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie. They're the only two actors that come to mind. I never really in particular, but more people are gravitating towards someone that you can see their life and you can start to envision yourself, what their lifestyle's like, and you start to go, I want my life to look like that. And it can be a very dangerous path. So let's see what happens. But I am all for this. I think this is a good thing to happen. However, I just hope that YouTube still pushes good fitness information to them. However, it all depend on what they consider good fitness stuff is. We should definitely launch a bulletproof, well, I'm doing bulletproof parents and kids, so I maybe should start doing some kid-friendly or teen-friendly fitness videos. Okay, also in the news, so the Olympics was that just last month, a couple of months back, and there's been a surge in the amount of injuries from everyday people because we're seeing athletes performing on TV, and we're thinking to ourselves, hey, I'm going to give that a go. I'm going to try and do a long jump, high jump, sprints. I was one of them. Luckily, I never fell into this trap. But so more than a fifth of Brits have injured themselves trying to emulate sports. Now, in fairness, they surveyed 2,000 random people in the UK, and a fifth of them came back reporting that they have an injury. And I think it was what did that say? A tenth of them have also broken. Oh, no. So a fifth of them have reported they have injured themselves trying to emulate a sport that they love watching and trying to put it into practice. It just goes to show, here's another point to lift weights, folks. If you look at your favourite athlete and you think, I'm just going to start sprinting, going all out. So where the body breaks down, injuries is your body telling you, hey man, like, you have done too much to where your capabilities are. You're right in at the deep end. We need to scale back a little bit. Nothing wrong with having big goals to go, here, I would love to be able to play badminton. just watched volleyball on TV. That looked amazing. I want to be a part and start playing volleyball. How can I get there? Well, do I have the basic abilities down first? Yeah. Am I doing anything for my fitness just now? No. Well, did I just go straight into the sport, or did I ease myself into it? I don't, if I'm being honest, in a perfect world, if you could, 1 or 2 days a week you're lifting weights, every day doing a bit of mobility, getting a bit of movement in once or twice a week. And when I say movement, I mean like some sort of run, light jog, fast-paced walk, cycling, something anaerobic. Combine that with your sport. You'll be surprised at how more likely you are to be bulletproof as a whole. You can just imagine it, can you? Friday night, Chinese is ordered, sitting back on the couch, watching your favourite sport or watching the Olympics. You're like, I could do that. Your partner's like, no, you couldn't. As soon as someone says, no, you can't, I don't know if you're this was exactly why me and Gavin ran 100 metres. This is why we raced. Because I wasn't even joking. I think we were actually talking about the Olympics. I am one of these people. Luckily, well, not luckily, I didn't hurt myself because guess what? I lift weights regularly and I look after my joints and I look after my mobility and I keep myself in prime condition to run 100 metres anytime, anywhere. Also, you guys who voted that you could beat me in a poll, no chance. In fact, I'm going to throw it in my story tomorrow, so make sure you're following me on Instagram at Coach Crossar. If you want to get in a bit of competition, you think you can beat me in 100 metres, then let us know. Check out my Instagram page tomorrow because I'm going to be doing something fun with that, or today at the point of releasing this episode. But yeah, this is how it started. We're talking about 100 metres and it was on the subject like, how fast do you think you can run one? I was like, I'd like to try and run, I hope I could run one under 15 seconds. And then a bit of banter going back and forth, and it was like, nah, I would smoke you at 100 metres. And it was like, no, you can't. Instantly, I'm like, let's go, bitch. Let's race right now. And yeah, like as human beings, I would like to see what the male-female statistics of this survey was like, because I think guys, I'm not saying this isn't the same for females, but guys in particular, we're like, I don't know, we're very competitive in nature, and I'd like to think a majority of us was like, I could do that easy peasy, and that's how the injuries happen, because they've not done anything for the last 15 years. And I would actually hazard a guess that these are the same people who come up to you when you're in the gym, it's like, oh, back in my day, I used to bench this. Like, no, you didn't, mate, right? No, you didn't. I see, actually, I'm going to say which family member. I've got a family member that tells me how much he used to squat every time, right? I was like, no, you never. Just because you put a bar in your back and you think you've done the squat, I know for a fact it was not ass to grass. And it's so funny, like he tells me this story and he tells me the weight that he does it in stone. That's how long ago it was. They were measuring weights in freaking stone. It's just hilarious to see. But moral of the story, if you've got a favourite sport that you want to continue to keep doing, make sure you're mobilising your joints, you're taking your body through its fullest range of motion with a little bit of resistance 1 time a week. You will be sound. Okay, so there's 2 more things I want to cover in today's episode. The next one being Planet Fitness. Now, I know we don't have Planet Fitnesses in the UK. Well, do we actually? So we do have Planet Fitness. We've got 3 or 4. Looks like 4. So Planet Fitness, I want to cover off this because it's crazy actually. So Planet Fitness just had an all-time high with their share price. Planet Fitness is the purple gym that is the whole lurker alarm, where you can press a button if someone's being too loud and they can get chucked out the gym. I don't think you're allowed to. In fact, let me get the rules up because it is hilarious. Okay, right, bear in mind, we're talking like 5 years ago, and I think the company's done pretty well to change your perception. I don't think it's all about this, but when they started, there's this market where gyms were seen as where the big bad guys go, where the big meatheads go, big scary men and all this sort of stuff, right? So Planet Fitness came out and, look, let's be honest, I mean, very smart. They're now, I think, industry leaders in the amount of gyms and the market share that they have over their fitness. I think it's £6.8 billion they make, and 60% of that is revenue. I'm going to come on to it in a sec. But the rules for Planet, I just spat all over the mic, apologies. The rules for Planet Fitness was no dropping weights, no, you can get the idea, no for all these. Dropping weights, grunting, deadlifts, powerlifting, string tank tops, work boots, gym bags on the floor, gallon jugs in the gym, overnight lockers, jeans, sandals, cell phones, and personal gym equipment. Absolute belter. So you'll see these videos pop up online from time to time, and it's like, it's the whole fit inspiration, or the gym influencers. They'll go into the gym, they'll start lifting heavy, and they'll slam the weights, and then they'll get chucked out the gym. There's a whole theme with that, just being dickheads, right? Planet Fitness is rightly so tapped into a market of a judgment-free zone is really what they're going after. But with that, they became the meme gym of the industry. But they guys are the ones who are laughing. As I said, 6.83 billion in terms of market share, and the revenue, the profits that they have of that is about 60% as of the kind of recent findings in 2024. So what's that, quarter 3 we're about to go into? Yeah. So as of quarter 3, 2024, 60% of that revenue generated is profit. Here's where it gets very, very interesting. Here's a point I've highlighted on the show many times before. And one of the reasons I never went down the route of running gyms or taking over gyms and trying to be a gym manager was because the gym industry relies heavily on inactive members. It's very hard to find what the accurate memberships is of Planet Fitness. The only thing I could find is, as of December 31st, 2023, Planet Fitness had approximately 18.7 million people, right? And you might be thinking, man, that is what an impact they're making, right? Gyms, as I said, rely heavily upon inactive memberships. The average gym across the UK, the US, and Australia, the inactive memberships of people who don't use the gym within at least a month, so a month they haven't been into the gym, 70%, right? Let's round up here, it's 68.7%. But 70% of members are paying gym memberships but not using it. And that's where most gyms rely upon. Let's do some quick maths. 18.7, 1, 2, 3, 4. So based off that logic, 13 million of their members are inactive. So that's 13 million people paying for something that they're not using. And that is why I always say that personal trainers and gym owners or gym industries, we kind of are in the same space, but we have two different goals. And I don't want to tarnish the names, but your JDs, your Pure Gyms, they're all that, they physically don't make a profit in the first couple of years, because as the wheels keep turning, the main profit is in these inactive members. Take away all those memberships, guarantee you they'd be thinking about things differently when it comes to their business. And as personal trainers, we are at the forefront. It's not gyms, it's personal trainers. They're going to get more and more people into fitness, helping them with their gym journey, helping them get over the fears that they have, building consistency, good habits, or just habits, should I say, that aid them towards this healthier and fitter lifestyle. Gyms just kind of give us it's the tool, right? It's the tool being used. I guess this might be controversial, but are guns dangerous, or is it do guns kill people, or is it the person that pulls the trigger? You know what I mean? It's like, how is it being used? Now, so we don't have that here in Scotland or the UK, but you get where I'm going with the point. So very, very interesting. Now, it's up for debate if most gyms have 70% of their users inactive, and we class an inactive gym user, let's say definitely beyond 90 days. I would say beyond 30 days. Very few people have the luxury of going on holiday for 30 days or taking time off for 30 days. So I would say for anyone over the 30-day threshold, in my eyes, they'd be classed as an inactive member. Very interesting to see what the actual stats are. Is that actual stats? It would depend on location and all these different things. But nevertheless, there's a large chunk of profit being made, and on the driving force that the membership is so cheap that it's like, okay, I'll just keep it because I may still go to that. The higher the cost, the more you're like, I'm cancelling that, I need to save a bit of money. So very interesting. Okay, and on the subject of gym memberships, we got a nice little heartwarming story for the last one here. So a gym which is the UK's first to offer a free membership opens in Colchester. Very cool story. Basically, the way they're offering free memberships is, well, two things. The gym claims that it's the first UK supporting low-income individuals benefits those who are on benefits, refugees and those seeking asylum. They're trying to remove the financial barriers to fitness, offering free access to referrals from NHS professionals and organisations. So essentially, I think there's different ways in where you can qualify for a membership, but they're offering free memberships to bring people in to try and get more people into fitness. And this is where this gym idea, it's obviously gained a bit of popularity. I would imagine this is it's a very good marketing stunt. Memberships start from £8.99, so a very, very cheap membership. But again, is it really going to help the larger people? Who knows? I do think the owner of the gym's called CLCS Gym. It's ran by a guy named David Simmons, and he said that we believe that everyone, regardless of their financial situation, should have access to fitness and wellbeing resources. Our goal is to empower individuals through health, fitness and creating a space where everyone can thrive. So this project has also been garnered support from the Colchester Council, which has invested over £10,000 to the initiative. So it's good. It's good. I think this is a nice, heartwarming story. It's great that there's free memberships out there. Going off the back of the previous story, I don't think free memberships is enough to make this massive dent, but let's be honest, see if it helps one person, that's all that matters with this. So good on David Simmons. I'm going to leave a link to all of this in my show notes below. You can check it out there if you want to go back. Challenge me, what's happening in the world of fitness? What stories would you like us to cover off? You can send us a message on Instagram at bulletproofmindset__. You can reach out to me on my coaching page at Coach Crossar. And without further ado, that's how we start these episodes. But with that being said, enjoy the rest of your day. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, thumbs up, subscribe, like the video on YouTube, leave a 5-star. I love you. I'll leave you. I'll see you guys on the next one.